What's up, everybody? It's your neighborhood friendly greaser, Aaron Chavez, aka the Rockabilly Buddha, and today I want to talk about probably, I don't want to say it's my favorite camera that I've been using, but it's definitely been my go-to. Yeah, hold on, I need to, oh, hold on, let me go grab it. Bam! The X-Pro2. I love this camera. Well, actually, let me backtrack. I have a love-hate relationship with this camera. Let me explain. First, let's start off with the camera itself. So the sensor that goes into the X-Pro2 is the same that is in the X-T2, which was my very first Fuji camera. I love the colors that come from, from the images that the sensor produces. It's got this, like, I don't know, it's like a warm tone. They're easy to edit if you do shoot in RAW. And there's just something about this sensor. I cannot really put words to it. Like, I can't describe it at all. But if you have ever had the honor or the privilege to work with the X-Pro2 or an X-T2 camera, and you just know, you just get it, because like there's just something about it. I honestly love editing pictures from this, not just this camera, but this sensor in general, a lot more than I do with like my H2S or my X-T4. And the reason for that is because they're just so easy to manipulate. Like, it's not hard for me to get the image that I had in my mind when I export it into my computer and just start editing and everything. I really wish I could explain it a little bit better, but this sensor, what is it, the X-Trans 2 or 3? I want to say it's the X-Trans 3. Don't quote me. I will put the correct information right here as soon as I do some research. It's probably already there right now. Good. But yeah, seriously, the sensors in these guys, I love it. I just love it. Speaking of, shooting in RAW versus shooting in JPEG, for this, I only shoot JPEG. Like, the images that come straight out of this camera, the same for the X-T2. The images that come out of this camera are some of my favorite photos I've ever taken of. There's just the Fujifilm in general is known for the film simulations, and you know me, I am going to be constantly bragging about the film simulations that come out of this camera, the film simulations for all Fujifilms, just because they're just so fun to, just to play with and tweak the white balances, coming up with your own film simulation, your own, just your own image. And then when you go out and do street photography, you can just capture everything in your world, in your vision, and that the photos are going to look immaculate. I'm guessing it's just because this old rangefinder style, it's the closest thing to shooting film stock. And I know some of you film purists out there are going to be like, no, you'll never match what we get in film. And I understand that is perfectly fine. But what I am saying is, with a camera like this, you can get as close as possible. You can just be in the moment, be present while you're walking around taking pictures, and you don't have to worry or stress about going home, exporting all the photos into Adobe Lightroom, and then going in and tweaking. No, like, you don't have to do that. Like, you can just put them on your computer and start deleting the ones that are shitty, or start taking the ones that are amazing and upload them to Instagram, upload them to Facebook, wherever. Like, it reduces the amount of stress, and it increases the fun, because with this camera, like, it makes me want to be present. And I know for a fact it's the body. Like, it's the body, it's the feel, it's the colors, like, it's all of that. I keep hitting the mic. I am sorry. Now, the resolution on this camera, it's only 24 megapixels, which honestly, that's more than enough. That's what I use for my X-T2, or I'm sorry, my X-H2S. I use that for my X-T4. Even my S5 is 24 megapixels. Like, you don't need more than 24 megapixels. So whether you're shooting in RAW or extra fine, not extra fine, but fine JPEG. Like, you don't need more than 24. The pictures are mwah. They're crisp, they're clean, they have like that retro feel. Like, I'm more than happy with 24. The weight on this guy, the X-Pro2 is heavy. Like, it's a solid body. I mean, it makes sense considering that it is, you know, weather sealed, or not weather sealed, weather resistant. I guess that's like the technical term. And you know, it's solid. I would hate to drop this on my toe. That's how heavy this thing feels. Wouldn't recommend it. Every now and then I'll put on like my camera strap and then wear this around my neck. But honestly, with this, I kind of like putting on just the regular wrist strap and just walking around and just carrying it just like this out in the street, you know, when I'm doing street photography. It's not bad, you know, it's heavy. It is heavy, so you will get tired after a while if you're constantly just holding it like this or around your neck. Like, you'll get a workout in, that's for sure. Autofocus. The autofocusing on this thing is good, but it's not great. Obviously, this is primarily a street photography camera. It's an older model, you know, so this being one of the earlier Fujifilm cameras, the autofocus has a lot to be desired. You know, I have used this a couple of times to do portraits, you know. The portraits, beautiful coming out of the camera. Again, yeah, those I did do in RAW format. I did not do the portraits, you know, with JPEG, just because there's like a very specific look I was going for. But I still was able to really, you know, capture the vibe that I was going for with the whole like portrait session that I was doing. But there were a couple of photos that were, you know, out of focus, just a little bit. It wasn't too terrible. I tend to use the focus area instead of the autofocus feature or the face detecting, just because that way I can kind of control a little bit more of what specific section I'm trying to focus on. It's not as robust as, you know, the XH2S, where it does phenomenal with face tracking or even eye tracking. It struggles a little bit, but it's not terrible if you do decide to use this for portraits. Here are the bad things about this camera though. Speaking of portraits, because it is that classic rangefinder style, there is no articulating screen. So if you're going for a lower angle, you have to use your whole body to go low, because everything, it's hard. Like, you're gonna have to go where you can view your subject. So there are a couple times where I had to kind of get in some really weird positions just to make sure that I can see my subject on the back of the LCD screen. Not like my T4, S5, H2S. Like, I don't have to twist my body as much when getting a good portrait with these guys. Battery life. Battery life on this thing sucks. Now, this probably was like my biggest complaint when I shot with the X-T2 all the time, was that I had to have multiple batteries on me always. I ended up buying a battery grip, which kind of helped alleviate some of that, you know, some of the like the fatigue of like having to constantly just change out the batteries, because, you know, they just didn't last long. With the X-Pro2, there is no battery grip, so you just gotta lug around a bunch of batteries in your pocket. Right now I only have 2. I am planning on going back to, you know, my local camera shop and buying a couple more, but for now, the 2, as long as I shoot, you know, casually, it works. But like, yeah, low-key, it's kind of annoying. So it does definitely make it difficult for longer portrait sessions and for longer street photo sessions, because, you know, you have to be mindful of the battery. Granted, one thing that I've been doing is that anytime that I'm not trying to set up a shot, I do flip the switch off, and when I find something or I think I'm in a great spot that has potential, I'll flip the switch back on, snap a couple pics, turn it back off, walk away. That does save the battery a little bit longer, but again, if you're not doing that and you forget, it can be a pain in the ass. And the other thing that I don't really care for about this camera, and it kind of contradicts what I said earlier as far as like the ergonomics portion. Like the ergonomics is great, you know, when you're shooting and everything, but I don't like the size. And I understand, you know, the X Pro line, they're supposed to be bigger. It's supposed to be a professional camera geared towards photography, and I love it for when I'm like actually wanting to go out and shoot. But the size of it is not ideal for just casually shooting. It's not ideal for just like being able to pick it up and going. Like, I really wish that Fujifilm made a new pocket camera, you know, just so that way I can just grab something on my way to work, on my way to my friend's place, just wherever. This, as much as I love it, it's kind of a pain in the ass to always lug around. Like, yeah, I can throw it in my backpack and it's fine, but I would much rather have a smaller body, a smaller fixed lens, point and shoot camera, and just stick it in my pocket. Now, I do know that there does exist a couple of point and shoot cameras that Fujifilm has made. I have yet to try to look for one of those. I think I will here soon. If I remember correctly, I think it was like the X70 was one of them that was on my radar for a bit. There's another one that I just recently saw. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm going to look for it. But honestly though, like, I really do wish that they would take the sensor from, let's say, the X-T3, which is such an amazing sensor, and putting that in a small compact point and shoot camera. I think that would be the ideal camera for me, just because it just takes away just that extra step of, you know, trying to find the right lens that you want to shoot for the day, or consciously having to get it out of your bag or putting it back in when you're done shooting. Like, I just want something small, you know, something that I can fit in my pocket, head out the door. This, as much as I love shooting and creating with it, it's not great. Oh, one thing that I did want to kind of touch base a little bit on about the X-Pro2 is that it does have video capabilities. Granted, it's not 4K, although if you are watching, you know, your content on your phone, especially social media stuff, like, you don't really need 4K video, like, at all. 1080p is more than okay. I did manage to test that out a little bit, shot a little of like footage around the house with just, you know, my little guys. And it was good for what it was. I did a little bit of vlogging just to kind of see how well the phase detect was for, you know, for video. And it's okay. It's probably not the best, obviously, because it is an older body and they didn't put a whole lot of technology into it as much as they have with their newer stuff. But honestly though, I would not use the X-Pro2 for video. I would mostly use it for street photography, maybe portrait photography like I have in the past, but this guy is truly a street photography camera. Hell, it's even a good travel camera, to be honest with you. Overall, I do enjoy using this camera. Like, even though it has its negative stuff that kind of get on my nerves, I do love it. I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. Currently, I am using this camera for just black and white shots, just because I kind of want to try, you know, something little different. Kind of turning it into like my own Leica monochrome. What the fuck is that camera called? The QP? I don't really know much about Leica. I just know that they have a dedicated camera that's monochrome only, and seriously, I would much rather use this as a monochrome camera than spending all that money for whatever they got going on. Plus, the Acros film simulations in here are one of the best black and white film simulations I have ever used in my life. You know, Fujifilm they just get it. They just know how to create a moody film simulation, and you know, and I'm having a lot of fun so far with what I've been capturing. So I'm gonna keep on using this. And who knows? Maybe this camera will be one of the very few that sticks with me till the end. Or I might get bored and trade it in for something else. I don't know. The future is endless. We will see. Alright everybody, well, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If this has helped you out at all, if you were on the fence about getting an X-Pro2, definitely at least try it out. I kind of like it a little bit better than the X100V just because it is interchangeable. Some people might like the 100V a little bit more than, you know, the X Pro line, but like honestly, you can't go wrong with this camera. It's fun. It'll force you to be creative, and you can use all of your lenses. Highly recommend it, or highly renting it or borrowing it from somebody if you can. And yeah. Okay, so with that being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Like always, love, peace, hair grease. Stay greasy, everybody, and let's get creating.